YouTube, we are back. We are back. Today we are reacting to the Poor Man's Podcast. Shout out to the Poor Man's Podcast. His content is like A1. He's actually reacting to Tomi Lahren, I guess, making fun of men again. It's captioned, Tomi Lahren calls men weak again. So I guess she did that prior, like I think like 2 years ago during COVID. So I'm going to be reacting to him, reacting to her. It's so meta. Before we can start, guys, if you guys can do me a favor, do me a solid by liking and subscribing, and you can leave comments, whatever. I read all the comments, I write back, and I like the comments. So I appreciate all the love and all the support. So without any further ado, let's begin this reaction.
Because I was on your podcast talking about my little PSA to men where people say I was trashing men. There's a big difference. Andrew Tate actually trashes women. I don't trash men.
This is a PSA for all the men out there and all the boys who think they're men, but they're actually boys.
Oh, he trashed men.
This is going to be the summer of canceling boys. It is not just the guys in Los Angeles, Nashville, Dallas, and they're not any better in the Midwest. Quite frankly, I think they're trash all over this country in the age range of about 20 to I think about 55, maybe even 60.
I trash men that I think are soft, that I think are...
Imagine a guy hop into a platform like YouTube or TikTok or even Instagram, just bad mouth. I mean, I guess you can say Kevin Samuels did that, but in a sense, well, he got hella pushback. But like only women can get away with that. You can get on a camera and start making fun of men. Like you can generalize the men and make fun of them and not get any real pushback.
Pathetic. That I think are little boys, and I think that there is an epidemic. I will call it a pandemic. The real pandemic is soft men in this country. And I know that you agree with me in a lot of ways, but I'll tell you this. There are so many women out there who are successful who can't find anybody out there because the successful men want the 25-year-olds who just want...
Nobody cares about your success. Like, nobody cares.
To be on Instagram and post their purses and their yachts and this and that. So I think we have a scarcity of real men, and I don't know how...
I hate the fact that... How the hell can a woman define what a real man is? That's not your spirit, woman. Oh, sure, I'm about to get canceled for that one.
How we change that.
So you say you only bash weak men, but your definition of a weak man is just a man that doesn't want to date you because he prefers 25-year-old women.
Talk to him.
I gotta be that guy, but Tomi Lahren, you being a little bit of a hypocrite. Tomi Lahren isn't an ugly woman, so I'm sure she's rejecting hundreds of men because they don't meet her standards or they're just not her preference, and that's fine. But all of a sudden, when you like a guy but you don't meet his standards or you're not his preference, he's weak. Women can have all the standards in the world. They can say, I don't want to date a short man. I don't want to date a bald man. I don't want to date a broke man. I don't want to date a man with a small D. But as soon as men have standards, there's always a word to try to shame them out of their standards. If a man says, I don't want to date an overweight woman, now he's a fat shamer. If a man doesn't want to date a woman that's been around the block, now he's a slut shamer. If a man doesn't want to date any woman because he's trying to focus on himself, he must be gay. And if a man wants to date a biological woman, now he's transphobic. There's always a word to try to shame men out of their standards. There are way too many women that act like incels, involuntarily single.
That's new. Yeah, but he's saying some truth right there. Like right now, as a man, you can't have any preferences. Like, even for like guys who are black, like, oh, I only date white girls. And if you say that publicly, oh my gosh, you're getting crucified. I'm not saying I only date white girls. I'm just saying in general. Y'all don't want to know about my dating history.
If a man approached Tomi Lahren and she rejected him and then he used his multinational platform to shit on women, he would be called an incel. So from now on, we're going to call these women incels, involuntarily single. Before I get too far into the video, I wanted to address something. Last week, I reacted to a video.
Yo, I've had a series of fucking panic attacks at fucking work today. Like, we are not supposed to live like this, y'all. Like, I'm on lunch and I don't want to go fucking back in, y'all. We shouldn't have to struggle so fucking hard and then struggle to operate, struggle to.
Okay, so my thing with that is, like, if you're gonna cry, why is the camera on? Like, who needs to see that? Like, I don't get the concept of you have to cry for the camera. That's something that women do. Women will hop on TikTok and start crying in front of the camera so they can get attention. You're a dude, my guy. Like, I get it. Like, I'm hella toxic, but bro, you can cry, but don't put the camera on. Like, call your boys or something. Just have that out with you and your homies, but don't put that for the whole entire world to see.
Function as a person. trying to make it. Like, what the fuck,
That's soft,
y'all?
man.
Bro, and I don't have a solution. Like, I don't know, y'all. But this ain't fucking it, y'all. This ain't fucking it. I did not picture life being this fucking
He's
bullshit,
soft,
y'all.
man.
And in the comments of that video, people were saying that my commentary was insensitive and I was just adding to the social stigma.
I didn't even know his commentary on that one, but just the way it is, the way he's acting as a dude, bro. Like, as a man, you're not supposed to be in front of the camera crying. You're not a female.
That men aren't allowed to cry. To address the second part of that, men can cry. It's just nobody's gonna care. There's a time and a place for everything. And when I'm on this channel, I try to have conversations and say things that I would normally say to people that are close in my life. And if there was somebody that was close to me in my life, especially if he was a man, and he said, I'm going to record a video of me crying and put it online, I would tell him not to do that because it's not going to make him feel any better. It's not going to affect his current circumstances, and it's going to have a negative mark. And
he says something real too. Like, he says, like, crying does not change your current situation. Like, if you want something different in life, you have to make steps. You have to take steps to actually make like moves and change your life path. So you can't simply turn on the camera and cry, hoping somebody's gonna come and save you, because nobody's coming to save you. So stop all that crying stuff, bro.
Or imprint on his personal brand. If you're a woman, especially if you're moderately attractive and you complain enough online, somebody's gonna pop up and solve your problem for you, or at least try to solve your problem for you. I
promise you guys, I did not watch this prior to this. Like, we think alike.
Man, that safety net does not exist, and I always say this.
Especially if you're like a guy too. He's not really like a Chad, or like, he's not fit. He doesn't have the features. So you're not a pretty looking guy, and you cry in front of the camera. Nobody cares. So women don't care, and men don't care. Nobody cares. That's what I'm saying. Get with your boys. You do that shit in private, and cry in private. Nobody has to know anything but you and your boys, and you fix that shit by yourself, or you with your friends or whatever. But no, don't do that for the whole entire world to see.
People will literally watch you starve and die on the side of the road before they help you as a man. And the sooner you get that shit out of your head, the sooner you can make a plan to actually save yourself and better your own circumstances. And for the first part, I absolutely can empathize. I understand what it's like to be a wagey. I understand what it's like to hate your job. For 10 years of my life, I trained to be a professional athlete, and right when I got my first professional contract offered to me, I had a career-ending injury. With a herniated disc in my back, I ended up working for USPS, walking 5 miles a day, carrying microwaves, Batman toothbrushes, and assless chaps. I understand what it's like.
And as he's saying that, I'm like, bro, nobody cares. Like, I know he's trying to make a point about the whole situation where he had to go through some hard stuff. I'm like, bro, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Being emotional about life-changing situations doesn't make you weak, but letting those situations ruin your entire life definitely makes you weak. I could have sat around and started shoveling ice cream down my throat and feeling sorry for myself, and I would have been justified. But I decided to eat 1 meal a day because I said I'm not going to get fat, and in my spare time, I started making YouTube videos. I think too many people, and trust me, I'm guilty of it too, but I think too many people use their bad circumstances to justify their bad decisions. Oh, she broke up with me, so...
He's spitting facts, like, he's spitting so much facts, like, because you take some L's in life doesn't mean you always have to take L's. At a point in time, you gotta say, hey, I'm tired of losing. What can I do to win? Winners find ways to change their habits. Losers find excuses to continue to lose.
So I'm gonna eat a dozen cookies and drink soy milk. Oh, and today was a tough day, so I'm gonna record myself and post it online. Instead, we gotta use those negative situations to motivate us to make better decisions so we can get different outcomes.
I want to show you something they play.
Like crazy, like when you're down bad is when you can actually achieve, like, in my opinion, you can achieve the most, because you're seeing how low you were. It's easy to reach for the top when you know where the ladder's at. No, if you were at the top, there's nowhere else for you to go. But if you can look at top and see where the ladder's at, it's easy for you to reach for that ladder.
Played my stream in the Senate. They played my stream in the Senate. They're watching this stream right now. There's government officials. Real world violence.
It's destiny.
It's just Nick Fuentes saying some stuff, and there's Destiny reacting to my panel. That's Nick, Dion, Dabo, and me. He said something about the Jewish religion. He said something about Judaism, and I went, joking.
Forget about what you think about anybody on that panel. They're having a conversation. Nobody thinks it's a little weird that they're trying to police having a conversation by labeling it harmful, dangerous, and extremist? And who gets to decide what's extreme? I personally think that letting kids decide their gender before they're old enough to know if Santa Claus is real is a little extreme, but nobody's talking about that. They're not calling for violence. They're not doxing people, putting their private information online so people can go harass them. They're having a conversation. There are literally corporations committing crimes against humanity for the sake of profit, but a 24-year-old going lasagna, blah, blah, lasagna is a national security.
The fact you did that, you might get canceled too, poor man. I don't know about that one. So one thing you can't do is you can't criticize the Jews, like the whole Jewish thing. Even by talking about it, like I'm like, shoot, lucky for me, I have a small channel, so I can say what I want to say about whatever I want to say. But at the same time, there's certain things you can't talk about in life because or else you'll get canceled. That's the way it is. Like you can't cry about that too. It's the way the game is played.
These companies can literally poison people's food for profit, and nobody calls them harmful or dangerous because the game is pay to play. For example, Nestle, the company that owns Nesquik, literally went into poor countries in Southeast Asia and Africa. And when I say poor, I'm not talking first world poor like in America where we have fat homeless people. I'm talking freak shit. I'm talking watch your kids starve and die poor. Nesquik dressed their salespeople up like doctors and nurses and went into these poor countries and convinced these mothers that chalky milk was better for their infants than breast milk. They gave them just enough Nesquik until the mothers couldn't produce their own milk anymore, and that caused a few problems. One, most of the women couldn't afford it. Two, Nesquik doesn't have and has never had enough nutrition to nourish a baby. And three, even if it was affordable and had enough nutrition, most of these countries didn't even have drinkable water. So not only did thousands of babies die from malnourishment, thousands more died because of the bacteria in the water. My point is, instead of labeling a 24-year-old that's having a civil conversation as harmful and dangerous, maybe we should start talking about these multinational corporations that are willing to put poison into our food to make a quick buck.
They own this fucking place. It's a big club, and you ain't in it.
Exactly. The game is pay to play, and if you don't have enough money or you say something they don't like, they want to have the power to shut you up. And if you don't believe me, the Biden administration is already working with social media platforms to censor misinformation. The executive bragged that Meta had deleted objectionable pages, groups, and Instagram accounts, taken steps to make several pages and profiles more difficult to find on our platform, and expanded the group of false claims that we removed. Other messages show that Twitter was equally eager to fall in line.
It's become clear that TikTok and the Biden administration are in cahoots. Like they're setting up this election center on the app. They're saying they're going to make sure that misinformation, any kind of election misinformation, is going to get banned or disqualified or whatever. And how are they going to determine this? So you're in cahoots with the existing administration to make sure that misinformation isn't propagated, but you're going to do this unbiasedly. All right, so we're going to tell you, the FBI is not in cahoots with Mark Zuckerberg. We're telling you that. But then Mark Zuckerberg comes out saying, well, we kind of are. How do we know? How is there... The fact checkers need a fact checker. But this is an infinite regress. Then those fact checkers need fact checkers.
Yeah.
And we're just going to be playing checkers. At the end of the day, how do we know any of this is true?
There are about 13 swing states in America, meaning they can vote Republican or they can vote Democrat. And if those people only have access to one-sided information because platforms like TikTok deem calling a boy and a girl as hate speech, that's a problem. TikTok is owned by China, so you have to ask yourself, do you really want Chinese algorithms to be able to potentially influence presidential elections? When people get power, I don't care if it's the government, I don't care if it's corporations, I don't care if it's your narcissistic girlfriend. When people get power, they don't just give it back. They always tighten the leash. Remember when they told us that income tax was only going to be for the rich? Well, that game became pay to play real quick, and they tightened that leash up. Now you have rich people who are able to afford evading taxes while poor people are stuck foot in the bill. They're using vague emotional terms like hateful, dangerous and extremists to justify stealing your rights. And if we let them do it, if we don't speak up about this, we deserve what's coming. Let me know if the video was a W or a L.
Yeah, I had to let him cook for a second because he was spitting hella facts and I was learning some things that I didn't know was happening too. So it was a little bit of informational for me too. So I had to let him spit real quick. But yeah, I always like Poor Man Podcast's reaction. So that was a pretty good video. He has great content. So you can follow him on his on his YouTube channel, Poor Man Podcast. Guys, that's it for the reaction. Till next time, peace.